They say tariffs are a tax on the poor. They say Trump's trade policies will crash the economy. But the real threat to global trade is global trade itself. Today on The 10th Man. The whole world is talking about Trump's tariffs, and almost everything they're saying is wrong. They say Trump is taxing the poor. They say tariffs cause inflation. They say America is now an unreliable trade partner, and they say it all with a straight face. But we're not here to nod along with conventional wisdom, but to challenge it. So let's break this down. Let's start with the tariffs cause inflation claim. It sounds plausible until you remember what inflation actually is. Inflation is when you pay more and get nothing extra. Your dollar buys less. It's the price-wage spiral. Costs chase wages, wages chase prices, and everything inflates like a balloon ready to pop. Tariffs don't do that. If a tariff raises the price of your champagne or your BMW, it's a one-time bump, not a spiral. And guess what? You're still getting champagne and BMWs. You're just paying a premium for the privilege of importing luxury. Tariffs are not inflationary. Wars are. Social programs are. Printing millions for stimulus is inflationary. Paying people not to work is inflationary. But a tariff, it's a price signal. It's saying, buy American or pay up. Let's look at some things that are inflationary. War. When you take billions of dollars of material and blow it up on the battlefield, guess what? That's not investment, that's waste. And waste causes inflation. Guns or butter, you can't have both. Energy policy. Biden said no more drilling. Energy prices spiked. Natural gas makes fertilizer, and fertilizer makes food. Congratulations, you just made groceries more expensive. Mass migration. Migrants consume services, but they don't build homes, they live in shelters. You're producing less, but demanding more as a society. Inflationary. Riots and protests. Those are not only unproductive, they're destructive. Burn a Tesla dealership, and now we all pay more for Teslas or for insurance. And every one of these examples is a left-wing policy. Every one is inflationary. And yet the left says tariffs are the problem. Are they out of their minds? But are tariffs unfair? Well, let's ask the obvious question. If tariffs are bad, why does every other country use them? Europe slaps tariffs on our beef, our bourbon, our corn, our ketchup, and even our Cheerios. China doesn't believe in free trade. China believes in manipulation, subsidies, and stealing intellectual property. Obama used tariffs. Biden kept Trump's tariffs. Trump's just the first one to say out loud, hey, maybe America should actually get something in return in world trade. And he campaigned on tariffs. He won on tariffs. He implemented tariffs, and now they act surprised he's bringing them back. Well, Europe and China, you had 5 months after the election to prepare, to make changes and negotiate. You didn't, and that's not our fault. Retaliatory tariffs? Hilarious. Other countries now say they'll retaliate. Raise prices on American goods. Okay, here's a fun fact. You can't win a trade war with the U.S. because you don't have the leverage. We buy your stuff, but you don't buy ours. We run the trade deficit, so that gives us the upper hand. We can stop buying, but you can't stop selling. And you can't slow down buying that you're not doing in the first place. Retaliating against the U.S. when you're the exporter is like trying to hold your breath until we give you oxygen. Oh, and Canada. You're not Costa Rica. You don't grow bananas or oranges. We grow the same things you do, grain and timber. And then you're threatening to cut off electricity? Electricity is not something you can store. You can't load it on a ship and export it. You generate it now and you need to sell it now or never. And if we need it and can't get it from you, what happens? Who is the unreliable partner here? And if we don't buy it, who are you going to sell it to? Unless you're a boomer or older, you probably don't remember red pistachios. All of our pistachio nuts are tan now. But let's go back to the 1980s. Back then, Iran controlled the pistachio market. They dyed them red to cover imperfections. Then along came the Iran hostage crisis, and they cut us off from their pistachios. So what do? We just started growing our own. And California pistachios took over the market. Today, we export more pistachios than Iran does, and you can't even find a red pistachio here anymore. Iran thought they had us, and instead, we replaced them. So if France wants to tax bourbon or Europe blocks our ketchup instead of settling, go for it. You're just going to create your next competitor. Because we can make our own champagne. Don't make us prove it. And not just luxury goods either. Tariffs on foreign cars mean a lot of people are going to switch to American cars. Once they find out American cars have higher quality than they've been told, good luck to you trying to get those customers back. Are tariffs a tax on the poor? Not really. Let's talk about this tax on the poor argument. Problem is, in the U.S., the poor don't pay income tax. In fact, with the earned income credit, they often get money back. You've got to make over $30,000 a year to pay a dime in federal income tax. And tariffs are only a tax if companies pass on the cost, and they don't have to. Take Walmart, for example. They told their Chinese suppliers, you're going to eat the tariff. We're not raising prices. And most of these things that get tariffs, they're optional. Nobody needs a Jaguar or French champagne, or Mexican avocados for that matter. On the other hand, back in Europe and Canada, every wage earner is taxed. So the tariffs they charge on American goods are going to be just piled on top of the existing taxes they pay that are already too high. So tariffs are actually a tax on the rich. In reality, tariffs are more like a tax on choice. If you want the foreign car, the imported cheese, the fancy French lipstick, you're going to pay a little more. Or you can drive your Ford. You can buy domestic and eat Wisconsin cheddar. You're not going to suffer. You might even save money. Because tariffs here aren't mandatory. Inflation is mandatory, and that's the difference. And if American companies step up, you create jobs. Along with those markets, the foreigners may never get back. You know, Democrats are always in conflict, and this brings us to the left's favorite game, self-contradiction. The United Auto Workers Union, for example, the UAW, supports Democrats. But so does the National Education Association, the NEA, the teachers union. But university towns, the NEA's strongholds, they're filled with Subarus and Audis, not Fords and Chevys. So who's really backing the American worker? It sure isn't the guy teaching Marxism and driving a Hyundai. Now, what happened to Trump's billionaire friends benefiting? The stock market took a hit. Billionaires lost millions, on paper at least. And yet, the media says Trump's only helping his billionaire friends, even while those billionaires are losing money. Here's a sidebar for you. When the market dropped after the Trump assassination attempt, that was the biggest dip of the year. Nothing but crickets from the media on that one. Now you have to ask yourself, why aren't China, Korea, and Japan trading with each other? Here's the contradiction no one talks about. Mexico, Canada, and the US are huge trading partners. That's as it should be. We're neighbors. And China, Korea, Japan, they're neighbors. They have ports. They have shipping lanes. But instead of trading with each other, they all desperately export to us. Why? Because they don't trust each other. China subsidizes. Korea blocks imports. Japan defends domestic markets. They don't believe in free trade. They just expect us to. It's like a three-way Cold War where everyone depends on the same customer. And when that customer, the U.S., decides to set some terms, they cry foul. Give us a break. The thing about it is, a lot of global trade is just a monument to waste. Here you have a ship full of Korean cars. It gets underway and sails around Japan. It crosses the Pacific, through the Panama Canal, and up the East Coast. And it does that to sell cars that we already make here. There is no economic need. It's not rubber or rare earth minerals or even chocolate. So you want to talk about emissions? Waste? Carbon footprints? Try looking at global shipping. Ships burn the dirtiest fuels available, but the climate protesters are silent. We import cheap plastic junk we don't need. Trendy clothes that we throw away. Ordinary summer fruit we can get cheap all summer. We want it in the winter. You want blueberries in January? Fine. But don't try to tell us this system is more efficient than buying American. Oh, and because, by the way, the fewer ships we have here unloading goods from China, the fewer opportunities they have to smuggle fentanyl. There's very little economic justification for much international trade. But trade imbalances are especially bad for the climate. Where are the protesters? With Asian countries shipping so much merchandise to the U.S. without their buying our goods, that means all those ships come here belching diesel smoke, then they return empty to the other side of the world. Huge ships going halfway around the world with nothing in them. How is that good for the environment? And again, where are the climate protesters? We believe in free trade. The problem is no one else does. Europe uses regulations to keep out American food. Phony regulations. France bans harmless food additives. Germany complains about GMOs. Japan and Korea protect their large industries, keeping American products out and bailing out national industries that get into trouble. That's not free trade. And now they want to retaliate? Based on what? Europe can't even feed itself. Only 3 of the big countries can, the US, Russia, and India. Everyone else needs us more than we need them. Not just in how much we trade, but in what we trade. So before you slap a tariff on American wheat, made me think about where your next baguette is coming from. In short, the media's narrative is garbage. Taxes aren't inflation. They're not taxes on the poor. They're not unprecedented. They're not even unfair. They're actually overdue. Every other country protects its markets. We're just finally waking up and doing the same. The Biden administration spent years setting money on fire, spending it on wars, handouts, mass migration, and ESG pipe dreams. That's why we had inflation. Trump's tariffs? That's just one man saying if you want access to the American market, it's going to cost you something. And for once, they're listening. So let the world whine, let the media scream, let Europe huff and puff. America isn't the world's piggy bank anymore. And if the price of defending our workers, rebuilding our industry, and standing up for ourselves is a few extra bucks on a bottle of French wine, well, then just pour me a Napa Valley cab instead. We'll be just fine. If you like this breakdown, subscribe and share the 10th Man podcast, where you'll hear the obvious truth.